Special Wednesday afternoon edition of Golden Black Live. Special guest, Coach Darrell Hazell. Another special guest, not Coach Stacey Clarity, but
that'd be new.
That'd be good. The pay might be better.
I know.
But we're glad to have you both here this afternoon. We'll be taking questions, as you know. It's kind of the same format as we've always done, and Coach Hazell will be with us on segments 1 and 2 today. I want to thank our sponsors, XXX, Basham Reynolds, and of course Hilton Garden Inn, and State Farm agent Trent Johnson. And Coach, it's always a busy time of year for you, obviously, and yet 6 a.m.s are into the second week now. But how have they been going, and have you been pleased with the progress of your group to date?
Very pleased. We've had 6 of the 6 a.m. so far, and the guys are working extremely hard. It's fun to watch, kind of the mindset change a little bit. So it's they're all looking to improve, and that's the big thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you want to get out of these 6 a.m.s, all the off-season workouts too, is finding leaders and having those guys kind of emerge. I was really impressed from just the first one that we went to. Raheem Mostert was a guy who really stuck out to me, and then I had heard that he wasn't even supposed to be there because he's doing track stuff too, so maybe it was even more impressive kind of what he did that day.
You know what? He's taken on that role as a leader, and I think that's what we need more of on our football team. And you've seen Kugler step up, and you've seen Sean Robinson and Feichter and some of those other guys really start to take ownership of our football team. And, that's one of the things we begged for last year is we needed some leaders, and now they're finally starting to step up.
Do you ever think about deviating from senior-only leadership? I mean, you're talking about a lot of these guys are younger guys that are part of the program.
We'll take them from any class. We tell all the guys, freshmen through seniors, that you can be a leader. And it doesn't mean you've played or not played, but we need guys to step out in front and really take guys by the collar and pull them along.
Because you've typically just had your captains have been seniors. Is that going to stay?
That's something I discussed about a week ago with some of the players in our player meetings, is maybe opening it up to the junior class, because there are so many good juniors in that class. Delapo's been a great leader for us, and there's just so many guys that are starting to step up. So we may open it up to the junior class as well.
Frankie Williams is the junior.
Frankie's done an excellent job.
One of those guys.
Yep.
You look at that, and leadership has obviously been the core of what you've talked about really since after the season ended. Building confidence, and that's a challenge when you don't have the results on the field that you might have wanted in year one. How do you do that?
Well, I think it's about execution. That's where confidence comes from, and that's the thing that we have to drive home in our 14 practice opportunities when we get to spring football. You gain confidence by making plays and getting lined up correctly and being in the right gap. All those things that really allow you to walk a little bit taller, that's about making plays and executing.
Another thing that you had talked about after the season was overcoming adversity. What are you doing then in this phase of 6 a.m.s and then into spring ball to maybe try to simulate that and get your guys better at overcoming those kind of things?
Well, that's what 6 a.m.s are about.
Yeah.
It's creating tough situations that you have to fight through, and if they don't do it exactly the way you want them to do it, you got to make them do it again so they understand that there's only one acceptable way, and that's the right way.
How do you define, when you define the right way, is it just a matter of effort and execution, or do you put more of an emphasis at 6 a.m.s on effort?
It's a little bit of both. You have to have the effort, obviously, but then you have to do things. When we say touch the line, that doesn't mean come up an inch short off the line. It means touches the line. And those are the things that carry over into great execution of plays, and then eventually translate into wins.
Speaking of execution of plays, you're watching or have watched or in the process of watching the film from last year, right? Cut-ups of every play basically and kind of analyzing that. Where are you at in that process, and what's been, I guess, kind of the underlying impression from having watched it after an experience?
Well, both the offense and defensive staffs have done that here the last 4 weeks after we got off the road from recruiting. There's so much to be learned by just everything, how you line up formationally, defensively, offensively, special teams. But, the players will start to watch them as well, and they need to grow from them, and they need to understand the whys of plays. Not just, okay, I'm running this or I'm getting to this. Why are you getting to this position on the field?
Is it important to have maybe 90 days between the end, your last game, November 30th, and now it's 90 days or so later? Is that an important amount in terms of a gap of when you show it back to them from last year? Is there some method to that madness in terms of why you do it at that time frame?
Well, I think the 90 days for me particularly is
recruiting.
Yeah,
Obviously.
for recruiting, but also this year I've had an opportunity to sit down with every single player on our football team. And that 20-minute period is so invaluable. You find out so much about the young man, but also you find out what are his goals going forward. What makes that guy tick? And I think that's the part I missed last year, where I didn't get a chance to sit down with the entire team. That is really helping me out, know our guys a little bit better.
Do you ask them all the same questions, or do you deviate based on individuals?
No, there's generally 4 questions that I ask. The first question is, what are your spring football goals? What are your spring academic goals? What are your community service? What are you going to do in the community for this spring? And then also, how are you going to make an impact in 2014? Those are the 4 basic questions that I ask. And sometimes it comes offline a little bit, but those are the 4 basic questions.
Kind of based on the film, what are you changing this spring, or what are you focusing on this spring, maybe offensively, specifically and defensively, whether it's scheme changes or things of that nature?
Well, without giving up too much scheme things, we'll be probably a little bit more spread out. We want to try to be a much more efficient throwing the football, but also we want to get really good at 2 or 3 base runs on offense. Defensively, we're going to switch back and forth from the 4-3 to the 3-4 and really try to get guys in the right areas. And I think that's where we failed last year, making sure we were completely sound across the board.
Is as much a case of adjusting to the person now that you've had time? Is it a square peg, round hole, trying to adjust to what you have? Do you feel like you're doing more of that now?
Well, I think you have to. I think you have to figure out who's in your locker room and then try to develop somewhat of the scheme around those guys. But a lot of times those guys can cross over into different schemes, but we're trying to adjust to our personnel a little bit.
So then kind of specifically then go into a little bit of personnel. The biggest question, I don't think it's a surprise, is the tackles this spring. How does that affect then, or what challenges does that present for you going forward in the spring and what you can do? Well,
I think this gives guys opportunities to prove if they can or cannot do it for those 14 or 15 practices. They have to survive. I mean, there's no other thing but to survive in those 14 days. And we got to make sure that we have developed some guys on the inside that potentially could slide back outside. But we want to give those guys on the outside a chance to be successful. And that was part of the meeting conversation I had with some of those tackles.
And it just to rehash that, it's Prince. I don't know if you want to say that and go in your pecking order.
You can say it. No, you're good.
So Prince, Warburg, Treader, and DeBoof, correct? Are the 4?
Those are the 4 guys that will play tackle for us in the springtime.
And maybe Prince got on the field for a couple snaps last year, but most of the guys don't have experience in playing in a game, so they have some ways to go.
Correct. Absolutely. We all do.
Right.
Every single position has a ways to go.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a ways to go.
Yeah.
So that's okay. When you look at that and you say, you look at, fans like to know also there weren't all that many redshirt freshmen, but there were some guys that didn't make the field, and that's always guys that maybe some of those guys are going to step up. Who are you looking forward to in terms of guys that fans may not know about, that may not have gotten a chance to play, that you're really going to keep an eye on this spring?
Well, I think the one guy who stands out in our 6 a.m.s who can run extremely well is the Antoine Miles guy out of Canton, Ohio. He's a guy that can change directions. He's fast. He's looks very explosive. So we're excited to see how he turns out this springtime.
As a linebacker, right?
Kind of a hybrid guy, yeah.
Okay, so that Jack guy potentially?
Potentially the Jack.
Because he came in as a lineman. That's the only reason I'm saying that. I know that there was some thought about maybe him kind of.
Yeah, he's going to start off as the Jack linebacker, which is a hybrid position for us.
A couple other guys just along that group, Ezechiku, Danny E, as you all call him, and Miles Norwood, and maybe DeJuan Hunt even. I mean, those are kind of spread different positions, but maybe some opportunities for those guys.
Danny E is for sure is going to line up as the will linebacker in the first group day one, and we're going to see if he can survive at the linebacker position. He's a big kid. He's 6'8", almost 6'3". He's 255 pounds. He's very athletic, and we got to find out if he's physical enough to play that position for us.
He looks like a linebacker.
He looks like a line. He looks
Yeah.
like a Big Ten linebacker.
Yeah.
Can you figure that out in spring about whether a guy can survive in that relatively short window? I mean, and when you say survival, do you mean just the physical side of it or the mental side or both?
Or both. It's going to take those guys some time to learn the system at fast-paced. And, Danny Ease has not been out on the field for us, so he's going to make mistakes. But we got to find out, will he come downhill and strike you? And can he run the football from sideline to sideline? Those are the answers that we have to find out.
When you look at the offensive skill positions, it would seem that they're kind of set. But where is Akeem Hunt then in your mind? Is he absolutely your number one running back, or is there still maybe room for other guys to make a move there?
No, I think there's definitely room for us to challenge at that position. I just met with Raheem Mostert before we came over here, and Brandon Cottom's another guy that we want to find out if he's going to get better at the tailback position to carry the football. But I think going into it, those are the three that we need to find out about. And really, the guy we want to really find is Raheem. Can he do everything that we need him to do? Block it, catch it, and then run with the football.
And I want to say Stacy put all these questions together, very organized, and she's doing it.
She always is.
She does,
Yeah.
and so I'm just poaching off of them. But they're really good ones about talking about Cameron Posey and B.J. Knopf and those injuries. But the receiver position is a position of some level of experience. Now you got to work some other guys into it in the spring. But what challenges does that bring for you?
Which I like. I really do like the fact that we get a chance to see more of Miles Norwood, a young guy that I think has a lot of promise, just watching him when he got healthy last year. But it'll give those other guys a chance to get out and run around. I think of all of our positions on the football team right now, that's the best position that we have, that wide receiver group. There's probably 6 or 7 of those guys that can help us win Big Ten football games next year.
Tight end was something we thought was going to be a strength for you as well. I know you had said Gabe Holmes has some work in the classroom to do. Do you expect him to be back with you in the fall?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if he does his part, he'll be with us. And I saw him in the hallway. He looks great. I mean, he's just a beautiful-looking guy. So we need him to continue to work hard in the classroom so he can be with us in the fall. But Cinzy's got to do a great job. And then obviously we moved a gentleman over there who I really like. I really like the fact that Delapo's going inside. It gives you a chance to create some mismatches on safeties and linebackers. And obviously it's a new position for him, so he's got to learn it. But we're not going to put him in any awkward situations that he can't handle.
Watching practice last year, and there was, you mentioned Delapo on our message boards, and people flip out. But when we watched him, he seemed like he was making plays, catching the ball consistently, and seemed like he was trying to be a leader in those things. Was it just a matter of him just not fitting with that group of receivers? Why you think that he can maybe excel, though, at this position?
Well, I think he's going to be better against, in my opinion, professional opinion, I think he's going to be better against safeties and linebackers
Gotcha.
as opposed to corners.
Right.
I'm not saying that he can't play out there because we probably, at some point in time, will have to detach him and match him up on someone, but I think he's going to be better suited for us to get him the ball inside as a tight end / H type of a guy.
You talk about one of the things that you brought to the table when you first came, discipline. Didn't have a lot of off-the-field issues. You had a couple of suspensions during the course of the year. You have Taylor Richards still is now part of the program. What's the plan for him, and how do you think that's gone for you in the first year in terms of building that culture of being accountable?
Well, I think the biggest message that we conveyed to the football team after the season was the right has to overtake the wrong. That's critically important. That the guys that are doing it the right way, they must overtake the guys that are doing it the wrong way. And then the other thing was the strong has to overtake the weak. And you see it more and more each week that guys are holding other guys accountable. And I like the direction that we're going.
Do you see it from a verbal cues or the way they communicate with each other? Is it a work ethic issue? How do you count that to make that so that you know that that's changing?
Well, it's all of the above. It's verbal. It's guys pulling guys, physically pulling guys to do the right thing. But also, we started this accountability chart and we divided it up into 9 different teams. And each coach is responsible for a team. He's got 9 to 10 guys on each team, and you get points for doing things the right way, and you get deducted points for doing the things the wrong way. And you'd be amazed where we were last year as opposed to where we are this year. It's astonishing.
What are some of the things on the list? Going to class?
Not being late for meetings and class, and just typical things that you would think about. And then you can get points by doing community service and not having any blemishes for a couple weeks. You get additional points.
Just specifically with Taylor, I know he kind of hinted it. Do you know if he will be suspended for a couple games next year, or have you thought that far ahead?
We haven't thought that far ahead.
Okay.
We're going to let him come up for air. We're going to come up for air ourselves, take a 2-minute break, come back, and have another round of questions. And he's answering them as fast as we put them out there. For Coach Darrell Hazell, we'll be back in 2 minutes on Golden Black Live.
Purdue students, find your home away from home with Basham Rentals. Trusted for 3 generations to provide quality student housing. We are now leasing for next year, so call us to learn about our apartments and townhomes, all located at the edge of campus. We're eager to share information on our many units, supported by 24-hour maintenance. Basham Rentals. Call us at 743-8367 or look for us online at mybashamrentals.com or boilerapartments.com. Going to the Purdue game? Stay at Hilton Garden Inn, West Lafayette at the Wabash Landing. Your family will love the well-appointed guest rooms, the pool, whirlpool, fitness center, the breakfast buffet, and the amazing Hilton Garden Inn staff. Located just 4 blocks from Purdue University, Hilton Garden Inn has long been the choice for Purdue fans. Call today for a reservation and make Hilton Garden Inn your #1 choice.
Good driver? We've got a discount for that and a lot more. See State Farm agent Trent Johnson to make sure you get all the discounts you deserve on your car insurance. Saving you money? It's just part of being there. Call or visit Trent today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
When you need to know what's happening in our community, it shouldn't matter what time of day it is or where you are. When you're on the go and need the latest news headlines and local weather forecast, make sure you have the WLFI app. Available for iOS and Android. Just go to WLFI.com on your smartphone web browser. Stay in the know with News 18 on the go and on our mobile app. Whenever and wherever you need to know news from where you live, it's available with the News 18 app.
Segment 2, Golden Black Live. Darrell Hazell, Stacy Clarity, and whoever the other guy is here. But we are welcome to one of the things we wanted to hit on today, and this is obviously a very important thing. One of the things that a head football coach doesn't have to do, but you've been gracious with your time, and that is certainly with the Purdue Center for Cancer Research and the Purdue Challenge. And April 12th, Ross Ade Stadium, the day of the spring game, which is what it was last year. But you really, it's something that means a lot to you. Cancer Strike has been part of your life,
Yeah.
And talk, what has that meant for you, and what does that event mean to you?
Well, I'm glad I can be a part of it. I really am, and I'm honored to be a part of the whole let's get it fixed. My dad passed away with prostate cancer back in the 90s, and it's just one of those things that touches everybody. And I think that we have to do our part, not only here in Tippecanoe County, but all across this great nation, to make sure that we find a cure for it. And every day is a challenge.
PurdueChallenge.com is where you go to sign up, but you're going to have a pretty good sized presence, even though it's a game day. You're going to have a lot of the guys there prior to the event. 8:30 is when the race actually starts, but they're going to get up early that morning to be part of it.
Yeah, our team is really looking forward to coming and helping out that morning, and just trying to cheer people on to make sure that they get the most out of that day.
We had over 2,000 runners last year. The weather wasn't the best.
Ooh, it was cold last week.
But it's going to be better this year. Chad promises that already. And we'll look forward to having a big morning, April the 12th, the day of the spring game.
So yeah, really looking forward to that day.
No question.
So the spring game is obviously the end of all of the spring practices, which start March 6th, and 11 of the 15 are open to fans, which is the segue into the fan support kind of question.
Yeah.
That was a big part of what you did when you first got here as coaches, really got into the community and tried to kind of get them excited. Now what are the challenges coming off of a 1-11 season and trying to get the people back in the stands?
Well, I think if you love Boilermaker football, that you come and support your guys, win, lose, or draw. And, I know we're going to have a good product, and I said that last year. It was a little bit more challenging, but I think that what these guys are doing right now, they need the support of our fans, close and far alike. But we need to get them out for practice. We need to get them out for the games and to be and fill that stadium up so we have the advantage when opposing teams come into our stands.
Last year you had a big impact and made a big impact in Indy with before the Cincinnati game. There's going to be a road show again, I assume, this summer. But talk about maybe some of the places where you're going to, from a fan support perspective, that you're going to try to focus on. Is it students? Is it surrounding areas? What are you, from your perspective, what are you going to try to get accomplished?
Well, that's what we need. We need our students to be in full force of our football team. I think that's where it really starts. Well, we love our students, and we want those guys to come and support us. And whatever we need to do to get those students, that student body in our stands, we have to do. And I'm not exactly sure of all the answers, but we need to have their support.
Mm-hmm. Let's get rolling into some of these questions. We have quite a few here. How did the off-season weight room training go? And you can actually read our magazine and read a little bit about that. But what do you think?
Well, I think it's going very well. Our guys are putting on weight right now, and we gave them all goal weights by the beginning of the camp. And most of them, it's 15 pounds here, 12 pounds here. But we're trying to put more muscle mass, lean muscle mass on our guys, as well as continue their quickness and agility training. So that's been going well.
Have you noticed maybe one or two guys who just had a dramatic kind of transformation? Robert Kugler in the upper body is ridiculous right now, but...
Well, there's been quite a few of them like that. I mean, I looked at Evan Panthil today. He came in at 240. He's a shade under 265 right now, and so his goal weight I think is 275 for next fall. Mm-hmm. But a lot of guys are like that. I mean, Jordan Roos in my office today was 317 and looked good. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a good-looking 317. Yeah. So it's fun to watch him get bigger. Mm-hmm.
A question from Boiler Bruisers. What are your thoughts on players or student athletes participating in multiple sports? Jalen Robinson could do about anything. He's amazing.
He's special.
He's talked about maybe doing some track at some point in time in his career, but how do you view that? I know you have some guys in track. Already.
Yeah, we do. We have 3 guys actually going up to the championship meet this weekend. Right, indoor meet, yes. So I'm all for it. If they can balance their schedule so they're doing well in the classroom academically, I'm all for them dual sporting in football and track. And, Jalen was a great wrestler at some point in time, but he's certainly a great football player for us.
Yeah. Matt asks, will David Blau get a look this spring?
Absolutely. David's going to take quite a few snaps for us, and, it's going to be a lot of open competition. And I know he's a very competitive young man, and he's really looking forward to getting his feet wet in major college football, so absolutely he will.
We talked a little bit about this, but there's, you have a strategy and a plan, it seems like, for just about everything. But how do you deal with the fact that you didn't win as many games last year and you have some negativity when you finish 1-11? What do you try to do with your guys? What's your strategy?
Yeah, that's gone. That 1-11 season's gone. If you keep looking back at that, you'll never go forward. We're trying to find ways to make ourselves better, and that's the goal. Every single opportunity, and I think our guys have really focused on that. And as you look at the history of sports, football specifically, sometimes teams take a dip. And, you need your support when those things happen. And the sky's not falling.
Yeah.
And you can't be Chicken Little. And you got to make sure you just work the process and continue to move forward.
Sorry, I'm staring at the computer instead of looking at you when I'm asking this. What has been the biggest surprise, good or bad, for you since your Purdue tenure began?
What has been my biggest surprise? I'm not sure that I've had a giant surprise yet. Let me give that some thought.
All right.
You can get back to
I
us.
can get back. That's right. Who asked that question?
They don't ever actually say their name.
And is there any young guys that got a redshirt year last year on defense that you hope they can make an impact? We kind of talked about that earlier, so we'll go on to something else. You look at the schedule this year, and obviously, you have Notre Dame and Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't have Ohio State and Michigan on the schedule. But talk about some of the teams that you foresee. Obviously, your most important game is Western Michigan. But talk about some of the teams that you expect to be where fans to come in and watch at Ross-Age Stadium that will be really interesting for you to watch.
Well, I would hope that they would come to all those games at Ross-Age Stadium, and there is no. There's no more important game than that opening game for us. It does so much for your confidence and really sets the tone for your football season. And we have to make sure that we do a good job of preparing well, not having too much in the package so we can execute, and coming out and play a great football game in that opening game. There's no more important game than that game. And especially coming off, the season we did, that it's just a lot of momentum that's created from that first game.
Only have a couple minutes left here, but Jay asked, how's Tabor Johnson fitting into the staff?
Excellent. He's a great addition to our staff. All you have to do is be out there for 15 minutes, and you see his emotion and his passion for the game and how well he connects with our defensive backs. And you'll be sure to see those guys challenge routes and get after the football.
When you put your staff together and you have guys everybody has a different personality. You have a different one from everybody else on the staff as well. But do you like guys that are real vocal? I mean, do you need a blend? Do you need at least a percentage of them being that way? How do you like that? How does that best comprise with your group?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that they're themselves. Whatever their personality is, I think that's the most. Don't try to be someone else. And then come and coach as hard as you can. And some guys coach hard quietly, and some guys are more vocal. But if you're yourself and it's genuine, players know that, and they're gonna respond because of that.
How do you coach hard quietly?
You can do it. It's a look every once in a while.
You have that look.
And you can coach hard quietly.
All right.
What did you learn about yourself last year?
Well, you learn so much when you go through situations like that. One, you got to keep coming back. That's the most important thing, and really get your guys to believe how important little things are throughout the course of the process when you're struggling. But you learn a lot. You really do, and you better be strong. You better have thick skin, and you better worry about the things that you can control instead of everything else that's maybe floating out there.
You talk about that and the ability to control what you can control. When you go into spring ball and you set your goals, which you may not make public, but things that you want to get done, what are the things at the end of spring ball that you say, boy, I as much as possible, I need this accomplished going into this 2014 season?
It's ironic that you would ask that question because I have that meeting with all three units tomorrow. And defensively, obviously, I want them to be very sound. I want them to be gap sound, and I want them to play aggressively, and I want them to run the football. That's simple. I don't care what you're calling, but be sound defensively, run the football. Offensively, we have to come out of this executing much better this spring, executing much better. That means our base run plays, we got to be able to execute versus all the different fronts, and then we want to be able to throw that ball with tremendous efficiency. And then special teams wise, we're going to probably do more drill work than scheme work just to find personnel in our special teams.
One guy we haven't talked about, Danny Etling. He is at least the heir apparent at quarterback, and obviously made progress throughout the course of the year last year. What did you say to him in the offseason in terms of, again, a guy that it was physically difficult for him at times last year, but what were you able to, how did you coach him up, and how did Coach John Shoup coach him up in terms of keeping him confident?
Well, my biggest point in our meeting was you have to become more of a vocal guy in the huddle. And you have to go into the huddle with a presence and make people understand that you're in charge. And I actually went back and I started looking for one of the tapes I put together for a previous quarterback that I worked with that was just all about voice inflection and how he commanded the team with his voice. So I got to find that tape, by the way. You just reminded me.
Okay, thank you. One more question, and he's got to go.
I think we can wrap it. You're at 29. You take at least a minute to wrap, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to take, no, because we have another segment of the show, so they're going to come. We want to thank Coach Darrell Hazell. I'll begin the wrap right now, and thank you for joining us. We're going to see you we'll see you at spring practice starting next Thursday, but then we also will look forward to the Purdue Center for Cancer Research, the Cancer Challenge. Fans can be part of that as well on April the 12th, spring game. It's going to be perfect weather, as I said. We'll look forward to that as well. Thanks to Stacy also for joining us. We're going to have one more segment. Kyle and Brian will come on and we'll debrief this whole episode, but also talk some basketball, obviously, as the Boilermakers have a big game tonight. Take a breather for 2 minutes, come back, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next and final segment on Gold and Black Live.